we see many organizations that have built very large document repositories. They've either had to do it for regulatory reasons in terms of records management, or they've just been quite successful, almost too successful with their knowledge management programs, and they've gathered a lot of content over time. The problem is that even with very good search tools, users find themselves flooded with results and finding it hard to filter through and find out what's really relevant for a particular business issue. For them, it's like trying to find these pearls of wisdom in a huge sea of documents that they've accumulated in these systems. And really, this problem's only going to get worse over time. We're awash with document content from all around the web and all the sources that companies have access to. So social media, external news feeds, all kinds of unstructured content is going to just grow and grow and make this problem even more difficult to find out what really matters. So what we find is often missing in these organizations is that insights layer on top of the knowledge system, which lets you find just those insights that are most relevant to particular business topics. And that's the part that if we could build better knowledge management would be much more effective. Well, building a good insights layer is tricky because you don't want to overinvest in creating polished content for topics that people will never really use. It's better if you can somehow embed this into day-to-day work so that it becomes a natural part of people's ongoing work on their projects and other activities. We've seen 3 approaches that can be used to help with this. The first one is to have people try to clearly identify the purpose of everything they load to your core knowledge base. And that means asking questions and prompting people to ask questions like, what could be useful to other teams from this material that I'm loading? What lessons did we learn? What impact did it have? And the answers to those questions really will help you trim and refocus that material often so that it's much more helpful and much more immediately helpful to people who are looking for input on particular issues that they're facing. Second thing is to think about KM as just a starting point. In a way, it can be just advertising for what's available behind the scenes. You want something up front that's easy to use, but not necessarily the final answer. KM can also include pointers to people and additional materials which would help you fill out that picture. So you're not trying to necessarily codify and store everything that could possibly ever be relevant. You're more trying to create a good starting point with some good ideas that will lead to the conversations and more of the pull factor that will make KM more effective and efficient. The third thing is to find ways to continually review all of your KM content by key topic areas and highlight the stuff that's most important or most useful in the view of your users. Well, unearthing the pearls of wisdom doesn't have to be terribly time-consuming if you adopt the discipline of building it as you go along, asking these questions and identifying insights after every project and every other knowledge-creating activity. The other thing that's very helpful is to create a very good taxonomy up front so that content that you add to a knowledge system naturally drops into topic buckets. That then makes it much easier for a subject matter expert to come along and highlight the stuff that's most relevant for that particular topic and to keep that going over time. So if you do this right, the insights layer can become almost self-maintaining. Well, some of the pearls will definitely fade over time. Ideas naturally get outdated and superseded as new ideas come along. So it's very important that you do devote some effort to the process of review and updating this insights layer as you go along. Fortunately, new technology makes this significantly easier. There's things like workflows you can build in that will remind you to review particular pieces of content at a future point in time. You can use usage tracking and some of the big data of knowledge management tracking to understand what people are using and, perhaps more important, what the trend in that use is, whether things are going out of favor over time and being replaced by other things. And then in the future, this is going to be augmented and enhanced immensely by social networking and other kinds of group feedback. And some companies are already making good use of this to get kind of the group vote on what's the most relevant article or document for a particular topic area and what's becoming less relevant over time. If you don't make this effort at upkeep and freshness, there's a real risk that your knowledge management system loses credibility and that people gradually become disillusioned with what's possible with the system. They can't find what they need, and so they gradually stop using it. Just when you look at running an effective knowledge management system, we feel that creating this insights layer and keeping it fresh are really two of the most important factors for success in KM programs, along with getting it done in a cost-efficient way. If you do it right, you'll really find a big effect on organizational buy-in and credibility of the system, and also, therefore, on leadership support, which, as you know, is critical to keeping this thing rolling. KM will move from being a static library of resources to something much more live, a living resource that will add business value whenever it's used. And that's what you're aiming for in these efforts.